tell you something. It takes a big man to admit his mistakes, and there is a big man. It is in the opinion of myself and my agency, of which I represent,
that Dark Souls 2 will not be removed from our memories.
Removed? What do you mean removed?
Oh, it's okay, Dark Souls 2. You see, your siblings here think you might be making them all look bad.
what's so funny?
Black Gulch.
You see, he's wicked.
Let the war in the comments section begin.
Dark Souls 2. Oh boy, what could possibly be said about you that hasn't already been said? The discourse, the polarization, all manner of discussion surrounding this thing. I knew when I committed to reviewing the entire Souls series that I would eventually have to discuss this because I've crapped on it enough where now I get to share my feelings on it. But to be honest, I couldn't tell if I was excited or dreading it because, oh boy, this game. When discussing Dark Souls 2, the two most popular adages that have described it have been, it's a black sheep, and yeah, it's the worst Souls game, but it's still a good game by action RPG standards. And I'm here to agree with one of those statements. The other, now let me put this at the forefront of the video. The game I'm going to be referring to is Scholar of the First Sin, since that's the version that I played and many others have played, and this is genuinely what you think of when referring to Dark Souls 2. Now there's going to be people in the comments saying, you can't talk about Dark Souls 2 if you've never played the original, they're two completely different games, you dumbass! Nah, shut up. I put over 200 hours into a game, I get to say whatever I want about it. Because this is an interesting case study. You want to talk about a sequel that is a step back in almost every category, that misunderstands what good design is, and takes all the wrong lessons that its predecessor established. Dark Souls 2 reporting for duty, sir! But the reason I said, and not wrong about the fact that it's a good game by action RPG standards is because DS2 is actually still fun to play. But not because of anything it does specifically. It's just Dark Souls. It can still sometimes be an enjoyable time, but the flaws of the game are bad. Like, really, really bad. Like, did no one think through this bad? Stuff that you look at and say, good games don't do this. So what exactly made Dark Souls 2 the sore thumb on the hand of God that is the Souls series? And what does it do right compared to what does it do wrong? Well, let's go gold hunting, people. So strap in, boys and girls, and let's get down to business. So anyone who's heard about Dark Souls 2 has no doubt heard about the rocky development, and for those of you who don't, it explains a lot. Mcmuscles has a great what happened on this. Highly recommend you check it out. I'll leave a link in the description. But basically to summarize, Bandai Namco wanted to capitalize on the success of Dark Souls and wanted to start production on a sequel immediately. The problem was, Miyazaki was still working on the Artorias DLC. So rather than wait for the guy to get done, they decided,
it's my money and I need it now!
So From Software started development under the supervision of Tomohiro Shibuya, who wanted to create a whole new concept for Dark Souls 2 that was full of ambition, with a new engine, a sprawling open world, and photorealistic graphics.
Bro, what are you talking about, man?
But the problem was it's kind of hard to make a new engine while also trying to make a balanced and interesting Dark Souls game. And without Miyazaki's vision, that last part's a bit of a problem, because you need colleagues that have a clear sense of how to make another brainchild without the guidance of the man who created the thing. Oh yeah, and you gotta get this all done in, 3 years? Yeah, you guys are fine, go ahead. Development was going so slow and nothing was coming together, so the decision was made to replace Shibuya, and Yui Tanimura was chosen to fill the role, having to pick up the pieces, rethink the strategy, and try to get the game out to meet the deadline, which, looking at the final product, the guy did a pretty decent job all things considered. I mean, it could have been much worse. So whenever you see a problem with the game, you could chalk it up to development hell, if not just a clear lack of understanding of what Dark Souls actually is. And nothing shows this better than the opening cutscene. Now, in most opening cutscenes for Souls games, they set up the world, show you the major figures that you're going to be running into, and they provide a sense of mystique. It's supposed to provide some value and you learn about what you're walking into, Bloodborne aside. Believe me when I tell you, the opening cinematic of this game is close to 4 minutes long, and you will learn absolutely nothing from the cinematic that you didn't already know as a fan of Dark Souls. It opens up with you wandering in the wilderness while cutting back to scenes of melting images in your head, while an old lady tells you that you will lose yourself. You won't know anything, nothing will have meaning, and you won't even care, because you are fated to become a thing that feeds on souls, a hollow. And I'm sitting here like, what the hell's the point of this? You spend all this time telling me I'm gonna die a lot, which is essentially what this means. Yeah, no shit, everyone who's played Dark Souls knows this already.
Long ago,
okay, here we go.
in a walled-off land far to the north, a great king built a great kingdom.
Okay,
I
nice.
believe they called it Drang Lake.
Yes, go on.
Perhaps you're familiar.
No, but I'm sure you're gonna tell me.
How could you be?
Wait, what? Why'd you stop?
I would tell you about the world, but you're not worthy enough, you writhing sack of undead flesh. After all, you won't be alive long enough to see it.
So not only are you wasting my time spouting already established info, but that time was taken away from actually setting up the world and giving it backstory to make it feel like I'm going to, you know, a place of significance. What are you supposed to learn from this? That my character doesn't want to pay child support? Oh, but we're not done. Once you drop on down, you make your way to the Firekeeper's abode, where you are greeted by a bunch of old firekeepers that are, really nice and supportive.
Oh my, your face. The face of the curse. You're finished. You'll go hollow. Yes, you'll become one of them. This is the fate of the cursed.
So not only have I been told I'm gonna die a lot, now I'm getting mocked for it? Really? That's what we're doing here? There's no better scene that demonstrates the devs' complete misunderstanding of the meaning of Dark Souls. They took the Prepare to Die edition as
the tasks you must undertake as the Arbiter are perilous, suicidal. You will die, as each Arbiter has before you. The Council will have their corpse.
No, that's not it at all. It's a series that presents you with a dark fantasy world with cryptic show-don't-tell storytelling that just so happens to have punishing difficulty to get across the theme of a normal guy or gal overcoming impossible odds while exploring a crumbling and mesmerizing civilization. The focus wasn't on the fact that you're gonna die easily, that's communicated to you through gameplay. Here it feels like the devs are so far up their own asses that they devolve to mocking you because you're gonna go hollow. Oh, look at this future dead bitch. Aw, poor thing, don't know what's coming to him. Do you know your name? Yeah, once you put your name in, the Firekeepers give you a human effigy as a reward. They treat you like a small dog. Oh, look, Maxie just took a shit outside. Oh, who wants a treat? That's a good boy. That's a good boy. This is a terrible opening that completely misreads the purpose its predecessor tried to get across, and it treats the concept of hollowing like a joke. Remember how I said that Dark Souls helped people with their depression? Because hollowing was treated as an equivalent to depression, and everyone was so scared of it that they were giving you encouragement at every turn. The gameplay replicated perseverance with your own life problems and gave those people hope to press on. If you're one of those people and you hear this,
oh, I'll fool you no longer. You'll lose your souls. All of them. Over and over again.
yeah, I think you'd be pretty f***ing pissed off. It's like you were telling me last game to push through my depression, and now you're laughing at the thought of me succumbing to it? Keep in mind, we're however many minutes into the video. We haven't actually done anything yet. Talk about a bad first impression. But Zedi, the crestfallen warrior, did that exact same thing to you in Dark Souls. Yeah, but that was one guy whose entire purpose was centered around that. So much so that when you ring both bells, his purpose becomes moot and he himself goes hollow. But when we arrive at our hub area, Everyone tells you the same thing! Even your Firekeeper, the Emerald Herald!
Those who come to Dranglake seeking salvation soon lose hope and turn hollow. It happens to them all, sooner or later.
Like, can I get some goddamn encouragement here? From one guy? Please? Alright, you get the idea. Let's get to the actual game because the mocking was there for a reason. So despite my overall feelings of the game, I would like to remind you, I did spend over 200 hours in it, mostly because an average playthrough takes longer to beat, but I don't spend that much time in a video game if your game is terrible. So that's the first thing I will say about the gameplay. It is still fun to play. They got new animations for backstabs. Yeah, they may be over the top, but who really cares? You still get that feeling of addicting Souls combat. I mean, Dark Souls combat is inherently fun. There's not really a lot you can do to mess that up. But, it really seems like they tried. The moment you start fighting, you'll notice something is off about the enemies. Their movements feel so sluggish, like they're just going through the motions. This is because the snappiness on the attacks that was there in the previous game, for the most part, is not here anymore. Take some examples. Look at some basic enemies in the previous game. Long wind-up, snappy release. Silver Knight, medium wind-up, snappy release. Or how about the Baronique Knights? Very long wind-up, snappy release. You see? Looks crisp, feels good. And then you look at Dark Souls 2 and most enemies are like, it's Leviosa. There's something wrong with me. Even some bosses have this same kind of sluggishness. It doesn't really make for a good flow like the first game had. Speaking of flow, we arrive at something that blows my mind. And rather than explain it, it's better to just show you the pitch meeting.
Alright team, Shibuya-sama and Tanimura-sama are counting on us to come up with some great ideas for this game. We cannot afford to tarnish the legacy of Dark Souls, so I'm opening up the floor to you. Who has an idea? Anything at all. Don't be shy.
I have a suggestion.
Go ahead, Lisa.
Well, I don't know about you, but I was a big fan of Demon Souls' grass system for healing, but I also really love the Estus Flask system, and I know others feel the same way as me, so why don't we have both in the game?
That's a great thought, Lisa, but there's one problem with that. If we give the players both Estus and healing items, they'll be able to bull rush through the whole game without breaking a sweat, and we cannot let that happen. This is Dark Souls, and they're gonna die. They're all gonna die. Every single one of them will die! Sorry about that. Alright, who else?
Oh, I have one.
Yes, Gary.
Yeah, so I really like Lisa's idea about the healing, so why don't we have both? But let's make them heal you as slowly as possible, so it won't be easy for them.
Gary, there's nothing about that sentence I don't love. Congratulations, young man! You have earned a promotion. Keep up that attitude and you will go places. Everyone, let's hear it for Gary!
God damn it, Gary. The genius at FromSoft, who thought it would be a great idea for your Estus animation to take 20 years, I hope you were fired. Why is this so slow? Did nobody realize that a lot of times in Dark Souls, you're gonna be in a pinch and you need to heal quick? So why is not only the animation slow as hell, but the actual healing is too? Oh, but I can guess, because since we have healing items too, we need to give you a reason for using both. So healing items activate faster, but somehow heal much slower, and the Estus activates slower, but heals you faster. So unless you're far away from any enemies in the game, you're probably not going to survive your heals. Great job. Way to turn the process of recovering health into an actual liability. Oh, but we're not done. Because would you believe that the item system is not the only thing they brought back from Demon Souls? Oh no. Take a guess what happens when you die. Yep, you lose some health.
Shanked. Not again. Not again!
Now this isn't like Demon Souls where you instantly lose half your health when you die. Instead, each time you die, your health bar gets gradually lower and lower until it reaches 50%. Initially, when I first played, I thought this concept was kinda cool. You know, it fits with the theme of hollowing, like you're slowly losing more and more of yourself. But on second look, nah, this is still dumb. You already have enough to deal with, and you'll be dying a lot to questionable decisions. So getting punished further for that is just completely unnecessary. Again, it's handled better than in Demon Souls, but it shouldn't be handled at all. That's the point. But no worries. we can move on knowing that nothing else is bad, right?
But I'm not done yet!
Dark Souls 2 brought back the Maiden system in the form of the Emerald Herald, so now you have to go back to your hub area to level up rather than leveling up at a bonfire. But that's not a problem. What is a problem is a little old word that the gods have bestowed on us for our safety, because no playthrough is complete without some good old-fashioned adaptability.
No! God, please, no!
For those of you asking, what is adaptability? Well, this stat, my friend, raises some resistances, but its main draw is determining your iframes. For those unaware, iframes, or invincibility frames, are the milliseconds of invulnerability you get when rolling. This allows players to dodge attacks without fear of getting hit if they pull them off right. But in Dark Souls 2, good old adaptability is figuring that out for you. So the more you level up this stat, the more iframes you have when rolling. But if you don't level this stat up, good luck rolling through anything.
You shitting me?
So when you level up this stat, you get the iframes that were already programmed into the first two games, but now we have to level that up. May I ask your logic, sir? And on top of that, it's not even clear on this at the start. I know when I first saw that it leveled up agility, I certainly had no idea what that meant. And other stats, well, not only does it involve resistances, it also includes the speed at which you heal. How do I know that? Trial and error. Tell your friends about it. Maybe you should make that clear in the description, please? That seems like a pretty big perk, wouldn't you say? This is the dumbest stat I've ever seen in a video game, and it's a good thing this thing was buried in the desert and never spoken of again. But okay, I mentioned the bad, but Dark Souls' new gameplay features weren't all that bad. They brought some good ideas. Number one, I'd say, the bonfire aesthetics. These are items that you can burn at a bonfire, and it raises the surrounding enemies to their new game plus level. This is mostly used for bosses since they resurrect them for you to fight them again. But this is great if you want to replay a boss fight again and gain more souls in the process. I really like this, and especially for the DLC bosses, I'm using this consistently. Another thing they brought along was power stancing, or dual wielding. If you had two weapons of the same class, like two broadswords or two great swords, you could perform dual attacks if your strength and dexterity are 1.5 times the amount of the required stats to use the weapon. For example, if you have a weapon that requires, let's say, 10 strength and 10 dexterity, you need 15 of each to power stance. This is a cool feature that allows for more mix and match with builds. Speaking of builds, that's another thing this game did really well. The amount of build variety and the resources you get far outweigh the first game. There's much more freedom in what you can do now. And I originally took advantage of this freedom until I found out that the Ancient Dragon Greatsword is a force of nature.
Now that's a lot of damage!
And despite my feelings towards healing, DS2 also brought along the shard system, where you would find Estus Flask shards out in the world and you could use them to increase the amount of heals you get. You can get a max of 12 heals. This system is great. There's a reason it's been the norm since. And you also now have the option to warp to different bonfires at the start of the game, which is useful to me, because as we'll discuss, I'm not walking through this world again. So Dark Souls became famous not only from its difficulty, but from its level design. This is what the game did best and what cemented it as an all-time great. Dark Souls 2 said, "We have level design at home." Stop me if you've heard this before, but Dark Souls 2 has a quantity over quality problem. And there is no better indicator of that than the overall level design for this game. Whichever levels don't bombard you with enemies will just be terrible to walk through. It's not all bad, but the majority of the time, playing through Dark Souls 2 feels like the team had to overcompensate for their lack of ideas. It really does feel like, oh shit, we have no idea how to craft an intricate world with interestingly complex enemies. I mean, who has time for that? Just throw as many enemies that you can at the player, and just have everyone in the room aggro, even though you're nowhere near them. Just put in bullshit. Bullshit equals hard, right? Because, for the love of God, I have no idea how they made the Silver Knights work. Before I unload my bowels onto certain levels individually, it's important to understand the problem with aggro in this game. Because normally in Souls games, individual enemies won't aggro until you're pretty close to them. But in Dark Souls 2, everyone's getting involved. Let's take a look at the first two games to see how they handled this. For Demon Souls, these group of miners in the Stonefang Tunnel slowly inch up, There you go, draw each one out. There you go. Or the large group of Taurus demons in Dark Souls. Slowly inch up, draw each one out. There you go. Or the Silver Knights in this room. You see what I mean? The game gave you a way to make it easy on yourself rather than recklessly charging in and getting pounded. Especially when you got enemies of a higher caliber, it recognized, hey, if we make all of them run at the player, it's not a fair fight because they're meant to be taken on individually. Now, let's try this with Dark Souls 2, shall we? Okay, Hyde's Tower of Flame. You got these 3 golems here. All right, let's draw the first one out. All right, there you go. Okay, wait, what the hell? Why are you guys? I'm nowhere near you guys. Please stop. Please stop. How about another? Oh shit, you guys are coming already. I haven't even walked out yet. This guy's not stopping, is he? Let's move on to No Man's Wharf. Okay, I see we got 2 sets of enemies hiding in shacks. All right, let's draw this one out. All right, now everyone's coming. Okay then. Lost Bastille, step right in, run back up. Oh my god, why are there so many of them? You're starting to see a pattern here. This isn't nitpicking certain areas. These are 3 of the first 4 levels of the game. And that's not even mentioning Huntsman's Copse, Brightstone Cove, the Iron Keep, and do I even need to mention the goddamn Shrine of Amana? Dark Souls 2 seems to think that as soon as you walk into a place, everyone should be alerted, and everyone should crash on top of you, which is not what you want in a game centered around one-on-one combat. If these devs were in charge of Dark Souls 1, all of these Silver Knights in this room would run out at you, and all of these Taurus demons would aggro at once. Which, my god, imagine how bad that would be. But to balance this out, the devs made it so that most of the grunt enemies die in mostly 2 hits. But all this really does is illustrate that you couldn't decide on good enemy placement, so you plopped a bunch of weak enemies down in the area and called it a day. But what they didn't realize is that this is still Dark Souls. You're not supposed to fight a bunch of enemies at once. That's how you get gangbanged. Remember that horde of hollows in the undead parish in the first game? That was there specifically to teach the players that even though you may encounter the weakest enemies in the game, if they are in large numbers, you are going to die if you charge in recklessly. In Dark Souls 2, that's the entire design philosophy of most of the levels. But alright, aside from that, the other big problem with Drangleic is that while the map is connected like the first game, 1, it's not as connected, and 2, some of it really doesn't make sense. You all know where I'm going with this. Geographical inconsistencies every now and then, the infamous Earthen Peak to Iron Keep elevator, when there's nothing behind Earthen Peak at all. Dragon Eyrie from Aldia's Keep, where there are these massive pillars, but we don't see them at all. No, these aren't the same pillars. When researching the development, the devs had already made the locations, but after the management shuffle, they had to find a place to put them, and it definitely shows. But it does start off with that view porn that the first game had with its hub world. Of course, one of the best things about this game, Majula. Majula is a great hub area. So calm and peaceful. The song here is just perfect. They upped the amount of things you could also do, whereas Firelink Shrine was all about ambiance. Majula tries to do both. You got your blacksmith.
Another useless traveler. A man ought to labor with
your armor vendor, who gets more and more dickish the more you buy from him. The neighborhood cat. And of course, your maiden, the Emerald Herald, who has one of the most enlightening lines in the game.
Bearer, seek, lest.
And if you want some easy souls, we got some pigs right over here. Oh, okay, not so easy. Bro, why the hell are they so tough? But then we arrive at the first real area you're supposed to go to, the Forest of Fallen Giants. This is where you start to get into the nitty-gritty, and this is where you start to realize, we might have a problem here. There are so many weak enemies scattered around, and not strategically like in the first game to gradually ease you in and teach you certain things. It's just like, oh, we got space here, Control C, Control V. Nothing criminal done yet, but the first taste of how Dark Souls 2 approaches its design. Hyde's Tower of Flame is definitely one of the most beautiful looking levels in the game, no doubt about that, my god. But it's got those aggro problems like I mentioned earlier, and the second on my list of cheap enemies in Souls games, the damn Hyde Knights. You see this arrow stuck in their heads? Yeah, unfortunately that arrow destroyed the part of the brain that remembers the word telegraph. Because what the hell is this side swipe? How am I supposed to avoid this if I don't even know it's coming? Like, really, dude? And there are a lot of these guys scattered around. And pray you didn't kill the Dragon Rider first, or they all wake up. Have fun learning telepathy, you poor unfortunate undead bitch. No Man's Wharf got those ganks, and the first level where you can utilize the torch mechanic because these demons tremble before they see the light of God. Did I mention there's a lot of enemies? Same thing with the Lost Bastille, even introducing the Fragrant Branch of Your mechanic, where you have statues in your way and you need consumables to get by them. Dumb mechanic that I'm no longer wasting my breath on.
Nice! You got me!
Huntsman's Copse is a meh level, with one of the worst runbacks in the game.
Bruh.
Earthen Peak and Harvest Valley are also kinda meh, nothing to really write home about, just your standard poison levels. But seriously though, what the hell is this in Harvest Valley? You also got decapitated puppets that are somehow still alive. Pretty cool enemy. And it also comes complete with a boss mechanic that I will touch on later. But here we arrive at the heart of the mid-game, and this is where the level design takes a nosedive. From this point until you're done with all the lords, I would say all but one of these areas are legitimately terrible. Pretty much no thought went into Iron Keep. Just throw a bunch of knights at the player, have one of the worst runbacks in human history, simply create this turtle hallway, and have the level be forced to wrap around Belfry's soul every time you get to the second bonfire. Wow, what enthralling design!
Dumbass.
Shaded Woods is the one harmless level. Kinda cool if you can get past the fact that doing anything requires a Fragrant Branch of Your, and you still need to go through Silent Hill first. And you have specters that you can't see that ambush you, and you can't lock onto them. So actually, it's not as harmless as I thought. Alright, we're back to shit. Brightstone Cove recreates... Oh, sorry about that. Brightstone Cove recreates the Arachnid experience, but instead of turning us into Spider-Man, it turns us into Spider-Man from Marvel Ruins. And there's a lot. Like, too many. Way too many. Seriously though, did I mention the aggro problem in this game? Really nice how you have a tougher enemy right in front of the ladder I need to go up while I'm being hounded by spiders. This run back is great. I don't need to have my health before going into a boss fight. That's completely fine. On a more serious note, if I may ask a question, who's the dumbass that decided to put a boss weapon blacksmith in the middle of all of this? I gotta clear all these guys out every time, or just try to conduct business while an actual riot is happening out front.
This is fine.
So then we drop down a hole.
What a thrill.
And have to deal with the Grave of Saints and the Gutter, which just suck. Like, what are these? But the cherry on top, if you thought all of those were bad, I present to you a Jackass skit.
Hello, I'm Johnny Knoxville. Welcome to Jericho.
I'm ZD Boy, and this is the Black Gulch. Need I say anything more about this piece of shit? Moving on. It's not until after all of this that we actually get a good level. Drangleic Castle is the first time in the game where I said, okay, this place is Dark Souls. It's got some problems, but I like the stone soldiers coming to life that keep you on your toes. Killing enemies in front of golems to open the way. This little bit of foreshadowing. Oh, shit! Yep, foreshadowing indeed. It's a great area, and certainly the best in the game so far. I also gotta mention the Dragon Eyrie and Shrine. Like, holy crap, these places are cool as hell. The Eyrie is just breathtaking. First time walking out and seeing all the dragons flying around is honestly a moment I will never forget. And the Shrine is so cool with all the guards bowing to you. And seeing every combat encounter here as a sort of rite of passage, that's just awesome. It's amazing we couldn't get stuff like this for the whole game. And the game also has those subtle, cool Dark Souls moments when you hear about King Vendrick throughout the game, but when you find him in the Undead Crypt, he's just completely hollow, just aimlessly walking around, and this eerie song is playing. Like, that's a cool moment. But aside from that, the best way I can describe DS2's level design is misguided. I don't think there's a better word for it. But alright, The levels are not up to par, but how about what we came here for? It's about time we discuss... Actually, no, you don't deserve this. Demon Souls had 16 bosses. Dark Souls had 26 bosses. Dark Souls 2 has 41. Now let me just say this right off the bat. While that's a big number, I am not of the mindset that having a lot of bosses in a Souls game is a bad thing. Not at all. But they still have to be good.
They were no wonder.
Out of all of these 41 bosses, you know how many I would classify as good? 12. And if we take the DLC bosses out of there, 7. 7 out of 32 base game bosses. For all you math boys out there, that's only 22%.
Ooh, that's kind of small. Yikes.
I'm not talking about great or fantastic bosses. I mean bosses that are just baseline good and well designed, which means 25 out of 32 bosses, 78% are mediocre to bad. That's a problem. Before you ask, the 7 I think are good: the Pursuer, the Looking Glass Knight, the Lost Sinner, Executioner's Chariot, Felstat, Dark Lurker, and the Smelter Demon for the base game. For everyone else,
you are nothing but unorganized, grabastic pieces of amphibian shit.
This is just pathetic. The bosses that aren't drop dead easy are just poorly designed or uninspired nonsense. Hell, they actually thought it would be a good idea to put bosses in the game that were just multiple enemies with a single health bar. Prowling Magus, Skeleton Lords, the Belfry Gargoyles, who in my opinion is only beat out by the Bed of Chaos as the worst boss in Souls history. The encapsulation of everything wrong with Dark Souls 2. Hey, you know that iconic fight from the first game? Well, now instead of 2, you now have 6. That's what made the first game great, right? So let's give them more.
It's the biggest piece of dog shit.
These couldn't have just been cut. Would anyone really complain? Are there any Prowling Magus fans out there? Are you okay? For the lineup as a whole, the movesets aren't interesting and they don't feel important. You can clearly tell that the B team at From Software made this because that epic feel that the previous game's bosses had, for the most part, is completely gone. And nothing feels dangerous from these guys, except the ones that have questionable design choices or just complete bullshit. It really feels like they just ran out of ideas and were just like, just hand me that preliminary sketch you did 2 days ago, just plop that in here. Don't worry about a moveset, just give him 2 jabs and a left hook. Hey, I didn't know they put your mom in this game. There is one boss I want to highlight that demonstrates this team's not lack of skill, that's not what I'm implying, but that they are clearly a step down from the main team. Mytha, the Baneful Queen. Now, why do I bring her up? Well, this is one of the most interesting boss designs in the game. A decapitated snake queen holding her still sentient head. And according to her lore, she poisoned herself to try and make herself more appealing to the old Iron King. But you could see where that got her. The premise is so interesting, but no one talks about her. You know why? Because her fight sucks, the presentation is underwhelming, and her fight is a gigantic gimmick in an arena filled with poison, which in order to drain, you need to set this windmill on fire. How does this work? How would you know this? I don't know. Normally, I don't like taking the stance of, if this boss was in Dark Souls 3 or Elden Ring, it would be great, because we don't know that. But this is the one case where I truly believe if Mytha was in a game helmed by Miyazaki, she would have gotten a much better moveset, that dumbass poison gimmick would be gone, and she probably would have gotten an epic cutscene, because again, she's a snake queen holding her decapitated head. If that's not unique, I don't know what is. Honestly, this team probably didn't make a cutscene because they didn't know how to determine whether the poison pool was going to be there or not. But alright, I have the same stance on this as I had for Elden Ring. You have all these bosses, a lot of them aren't going to be as epic and as well designed as others, but how about the bosses that actually matter? In this case, the Lord fights. Well,
they fucking suck.
Say whatever you want about the 4 lords in Dark Souls, and I have. I would take those 4 any day over what we got in Dark Souls 2. Although, can I please swap out the Bed of Chaos for the Lost Sinner? What's supposed to be the cornerstone boss fights of the game feels so underwhelming. If one has great design, it lacks in mechanics, or vice versa. It does not help their case at all that they are barely set up at all, because we use the opening cutscene to tell you you're gonna die. You have no idea who they are, which in some case adds to the mystique, But in this case, the lords you run into don't really feel like big cornerstone bosses. So when you kill one of them and you get the Great Soul Embraced banner, you're left thinking, wait, that was a lord? If you got, I don't know, a short description or at least a blurry picture of them in the opening cutscene, this would have added much more weight to it. Something that makes you say, oh crap, it's the giant spider from the opening, I'm in for a tough fight. But if the only snippet of info you get is the vague explanation that Shalquar gives you in Majula, and nothing else, how do you expect me to feel anything with this? And when it comes to the fights itself, they feel so uninspired. Although, let's start with the best one. Like I said earlier, the Lost Sinner is one of the good bosses in DS2. The fight is fast-paced, she doesn't give you a lot of time to strike, which has the fight turn into a dance of dodge, counter, because most of the time she'll dodge your initial strike and then come in for one of her own. It's truly one of the more engaging fights in the game. Her arena also has a mechanic where you can light the torches in the room from the outside, which I've never done because I've never had a problem seeing her, but it's pretty cool. But this is one of the times where the fight ends and you realize she's one of the lords and you're like, wait, that was one of them? I mean, don't get me wrong, the fight is good, but as a lord, she feels like a good mid-area boss, not a lord. Dukesteer Dukesteer Freya is an interesting concept, a double-headed spider that shoots laser beams. Just take a look at that concept. But the fight just revolves around avoiding her spider minions, and her moveset is not really the most engaging. It's not really bad in my eyes, it's just like I said, kind of meh. I won't argue if you think this is a good boss fight, but to me, I want a little more out of my lord fights, and this ain't it. Now, you want to talk about guys who look like they can be lords? Say hello to the old Iron King. Oh, his fight still sucks. There's long windups, and then there's the old Iron King long windups. Like, are you even trying to kill me? It's a shame because this design is so cool. The last one is the Rotten. Now, I have heard people say they think this is a good boss. My question is, why? Because he's made up of bodies? Well, that goes out the window the moment you realize he looks like a giant turd. And I just love fights that require me to just strafe around the boss and occasionally dodge. This is so engaging, guys. Especially after the Black Gulch. This is what I get? Nah, get the hell out of here. But you know what's even worse than these bosses? The runbacks to most of them. This team was like, how can we make the trek back to the bosses as annoying as possible? Here are some examples of bad ones. Executioner's Chariot, both bosses in Hyde's Tower of Flame, Ruin Sentinels, Looking Glass Knight, the Rotten, Dukesteer Freya, Dark Lurker, and worst of all, the Smelter Demon.
No. Wait.
Do you know how many Alone Knights stand between you and the Smelter Demon? Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7, not 8, not 9, not 10, not 11, not 12, not 13, not 14, but 15! There are more Alone Knights on this run back than there are good bosses in this game. Oh, and I hope you weren't planning on just running past them all, because they won't stop chasing you. And in Dark Souls 2, not only does it take you longer to traverse the fog wall, but you're vulnerable while doing so. So, yeah, have fun! By the way, this isn't counting DLC, which, believe me, we will get to. That's a dead horse that's ready to be roundhoused into oblivion. But to close this out, the final boss. Would you be surprised if I told you that Dark Souls 2 has 3 final bosses? And would you also be surprised if I told you that all 3 of them suck? I'm not wasting breath on the Throne Watcher and Defender, and Nashandra, the default final boss, is absolutely pathetic. Say what you want about Gwyn in the first game, he was weak because the game was portraying him as a husk of his former self, alongside the fact that you would become all-powerful. What the hell is your excuse, Nashandra? Oh, you got some curse orbs? Great, let's take care of that. And it turns out she's allergic to dealing damage. Oh, I'm sorry, does anybody have an EpiPen? But no worries, if those 2 weren't good enough for you, Scholar of the First Sin added a new final boss, Aldia, Scholar of the First Sin. And somehow he's worse. You had 3 chances at making a good final boss, and you failed on all of them. That's an accomplishment, really. Like, is that not impressive? It's at this point where I am done with this game. But it turns out, Dark Souls 2 has one massive saving grace. If there is one thing that Dark Souls 2 gets right, And the one thing that absolutely saves this game, it's the Crown DLCs. The game came out with 3 expansions, and all 3 of them are miles ahead of the base game. Like, when you play them, it clicks with you. Okay, this is pod racing. And believe it or not, the thought of playing through them actually gets me excited to play through Dark Souls 2? What? Yeah, I'll suffer through the Iron Keep because I know I got frozen Ilium Lois to look forward to. It feels like these are Yuri Tanimura's vision completely realized. And since you don't have looming deadlines breathing down your neck, the team now has time to expand on their ideas and possibly redeem themselves. And they do, for the most part. The premise of all 3 expansions is that in order to gain true strength in your rise to power, you need the power from the 3 crowns of legendary kings from the past: the Sunken King, the Iron King, and the Ivory King. And each expansion has you going through different, very cool looking areas. Let's start with the one I usually play first, Sunken King. This has you exploring the fallen kingdom of Shulva Sanctum City, which was an ancient city built to worship a sleeping dragon that may or may not have woken up. Okay, he's woken up. And he is awesome. Yeah, the Aztec-like structures of everything in Shulva look so cool. And seeing Sin occasionally flying across, even helping you clear out some enemies, that's some Calamite callbacks. Thank you, Sin. Well, shit, that was a one-time use. You also have to hit these switches that raise these pillars in order for you to get into certain areas outside. And once you get into Dragon Sanctum and you have these giant night specters and you have to destroy their bodies and their coffins to make them vulnerable, like, this is such a great idea. You also have the outside area where you run, 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 run! It's here that I should mention that this is where Dark Souls 2's DLC connects with the first game, because when Manus was killed back in the day, his body fragmented into 4 parts. The Shards of Manus, or Children of Dark, essentially his daughters, and their roles were to find these kings of the past, get cozy with them, and eventually lead them to their demise. The reason I say that now is because we now encounter our first one, Ilana the Squalid Queen. Now beforehand you hear her ominous singing throughout the labyrinth, almost like a haunted lullaby. You walk through the fog and...
You're not deserving of the mire.
Yeah, you are absolutely related to Nashandra. My thoughts on the fight change depending on what mood I'm in. On one hand, the fight's incredibly easy when you get her one-on-one, but then she spawns in other enemies to help her out, like skeletons or those pigs from Majula. Wow, I have an undead intruder here. Let me summon pigs to fight him. Yeah, I'm sure that will work. I mean, to be fair, I was having trouble earlier. But she can also summon a full Velstadt.
Hello there.
Because... why not, I guess? I'm not a fan of fights whose difficulty is randomized like this, because once Velstadt gets in here, it becomes a hell of a lot harder, but everybody else is pretty much cannon fodder, so it's a coin flip whether or not you're gonna be sweating or sleeping. Also, I think the Ancient Dragon Greatsword was just a little bit bloodthirsty today, so we beat Ilana and move on to the main boy, which, by the way, the build-up for Sin so far has been impeccable. An entire city dedicated to him, you see him flying around, and now once you open this giant mural dedicated to him, you realize no matter what's on the other side of this wall, you are in for a tough time. But here we go. A pizza delivery for, Sin. Oh. I can, you can just pay on the apps. It's okay, I'll leave you be. Say hello to Sin the Slumbering Dragon, one of the best dragon fights in the entire series. In my eyes, when you picture what an actual fight with a dragon would be like, Sin is what you would get. Consistent drive-bys, punishing ground moves, and spewing, poison fire? Well, that explains a lot. Yeah, it turns out that not long ago, there was a group of rogue knights that decided they wanted all the glory in the world, so they invaded Shulva to kill Sin, the legendary dragon. But when an absolute genius decided to throw a spear into him, they soon realized, oh shit, this guy's filled with poison! And it was that same poison that Sin used to destroy Shulva, the Sunken King, and the entire population. Thanks, buddy. Now he's mad at me and I didn't even do anything. Well, I guess now I did. I love the Sin fight, and it is always a riveting fight that has me sweating. Okay, that's DLC number 1. DLC number 2 takes us to Broom Tower, the place where the Iron King's stores of iron were mass produced. And my god, is this backdrop cool or what? The first time you walk across that giant chain is just epic, and that's not the only time you do it either. But the most unique thing about Broom Tower are the Ashen Idols. The second child of Dark, Nadalia, had the same mission as her sisters, search for kings and destroy. But since the Iron King had already died, she couldn't really do anything, so she decided to take the easy way out. And now her spirit haunts Broom Tower, calling many soldiers and knights to her influence, and creating this black fog that curses you. That's no good. And the soldiers get stat buffs whenever they're around an Ashen Idol, so we gotta destroy everyone we see. But you also gotta be careful on your first go around, because you only have a certain amount of smelter wedges to use, and if you use all of them on the first ones you see, you could end up being screwed later, which we'll get to. Also, I really love how the idol sounds like it's whispering to you. And it's always fun sending these barrel boys to their deaths, let me tell you one thing.
Oh, yeah.
But all of this leads us to the main boss, the Fume Knight, who is quite possibly the best boss in the game. His combos are incredibly satisfying to dodge, even if the hitboxes are a little questionable. His side swipes are insane when it comes to damage. Yeah, right. This is the most fun I've had in the game fighting a boss because of how well designed his moveset is. And to add a bit of lore, he was one of Vendrick's right-hand men before he was exiled after losing a duel to Velstadt, which led him here. So when you go into the fight wearing Velstadt's helmet, he immediately starts with phase 2. Like, that is an amazing detail. But his arena is the most notable, because there are Ashen Idols around it that heal him. And remember what I said earlier about saving your smelter wedges? This is why you gotta save them, because you're gonna have to destroy all of them if you want a fair fight, but if you've used all of them up, there's gonna be one left. But you're gonna have to keep him away from it, because that fight's gonna be a little bit more difficult than you would want, and considering the fact that this man's an absolute tank, I think you should just cut your losses and just save your resources. I love this fight. I love everything about this fight. Remember what I was saying about bonfire aesthetics and how I've used them consistently on DLC bosses? Most of the time I've used it on the Fume Knight. That tells you all you need to know. But that's just the first guy. Now you got other places in Broom Tower to go. The one boss that can go toe-to-toe with Fume Knight in terms of greatness is Sir Alan. Very, very wonky stab hitbox aside, this fight feels like something that would be in Dark Souls 3. And that is a very high compliment. The speed of the fight, the amazing moveset, the damn music. And my god, would you look at these floors? How much work went into this? Originally, this fight exposed the problem of adaptability because the first time I ever fought this guy, I had not leveled up adaptability at all, which meant I never got to heal. Great stat, guys. Love that. And another cool detail is that if you somehow were to beat him without taking a hit, he actually performs a harakiri on himself. This man is based. So that's all done. Now, while the DLCs have been great so far, Shulva and Broom Tower also suffer from the same problems that the base game had when it comes to the amount of gank that you deal with. Shulva especially, because these guys have unlimited poise, so good luck with that. The final one though, the Crown of the Ivory King, is the only time I looked at an area in Dark Souls 2 and I said, yeah, I don't think we need Miyazaki to fix this. Not only is Frozen Ilium Lois the best area in the game, it's up there with one of the best areas in Souls history. I'm not exaggerating when I say that. The plot with the old chaos coming back, the opening whispers of Alsana, the level design itself, everything about Frozen Ilium Lois is amazing. Except for these little shits right here. As the Burnt Ivory King has been consumed by the flame of chaos, you are entrusted to go and liberate his soul. But you need a solid army with you, so you have to explore Frozen Ilium Lois and recruit dormant Lois Knights to your cause. The dangers of Frozen Ilium Lois for the entire area, I would not consider bullshit, which is amazing given how much everything else has been in the game this whole time. Every enemy I would say is balanced and interesting. Before that, the opening few minutes have you encountering a invisible boss. What? Hey! Yeah, that goes about as well as you think it would. When you wander around and fix that problem, you can say hello to Ava, the king's pet. And I'm gonna be honest, guys, I think Ava is one of the most underrated fights in all of Souls, because as an opening boss, he makes you work for it. His swipes, his ice attacks, the aesthetic of his arena, and the music are also just great. As a literal gatekeeper boss, he is perfect. But once you get through him, you go to the Grand Cathedral, you listen to Alsana's plea, you gather the remaining Lois Knights, and you take the plunge into the old chaos. The fallen Lois Knights come out of all the portals, your Lois Knights sacrifice themselves to seal them away, and then the man himself. I will say it once again. No, chat. I will not do the yoinky sploinky! This is the best entrance in Souls boss history, hands down. Burnt Ivory King caps off a trio of amazing final DLC bosses. A sword fight between you and the Fallen King for the fate of Ilium Lois. And the one unfortunate Lois Knight who happens to survive. Sorry, buddy, I really want this one-on-one fight. This double back move he has is still one of the most fun moves to dodge, and he even brings out a damn lightsaber. May the force be with you, bitch. Just like Todd Howard says.
All of this just works.
So there you have it. There's the Crown DLCs. Oh, come on. Alright, I've praised the DLCs enough, but they're not perfect. And though they are the game at its best, it's also the game at its worst. Let's go back to Sir Alon. Fight is great, that's been said. However, you want to see how you get there? Do you love Alon Knights? Do you love fire-breathing lizards? Do you like them all converging on you at once? Do you like shitty boss runbacks? Well, say hello to the memory of the old Iron King. There is no bonfire, since it is a memory. So you start from the beginning every single time. And you gotta go through this every single time. Excuse me, how did nobody at From Software stop and say, hey, this is a really bad idea, since the boss at the end of this is really, really hard? What the hell were you guys thinking?
Run, no fight, Nightcrawler. Either way, we will be entertained.
Oh, but we're not done. Oh, we are not done. Say hello to the Iron Passage and the Cave of the Dead, also known as the co-op areas, created to encourage, well, co-op. So there are a lot of enemies, you might say. Some that will even slow you down so they can get to know you better. The problem is, I'm not really interested. FromSoft was thinking, hey, you can handle this since you'll have another person with you. But apparently nobody had the hindsight to think that, hey, what happens when the PvP scene is dead? Or simply, nobody wants to go there?
Hey! That guy fired him! That guy's thinking outside the box. Fuck that guy.
Oh, we didn't think that through. Yeah, clearly. But it's okay, we got a shortcut. And by that, I mean shortcut to your death. What crack was provided to the employees the day they made this? And what do you get at the end of both of these? A reskin Smelter Demon and the Gang Squad.
Good, great, grand, wonderful.
But after all this, and after everything I said in this video that is bad about this game, what if I told you that there was something worse than all of it? Hey kids, you want to go on a trip?
Where?
Why, to the North Pole, of course.
A few moments later.
Well, this sucks.
I can understand bad areas in the base game. You had a rocky development. I can understand the co-op areas. They are meant to be played with multiple people.
What I don't understand is the f***ing logic behind the frigid outskirts. Do you love not being able to see where you're going? Like, really not being able to see where you are going? Like, at all? Do you love being ambushed by giant ice reindeer? Do you love doing all of that for a reskin duo boss? Congratulations, everybody! Welcome to the 9th layer of hell! I don't usually like to summon, but this place I'm always like, nope, screw it, let's go ladies. I am not doing this by myself. That's not enough layers, especially when Rudolph has gone rogue and is now apparently out for blood. What did Santa do to piss you off, my guy? I mean, I always was wondering how his nose got red. Mark that down on my list of cheap From Software enemies. Amazing that the best DLC in the game has the best area and the worst area, because nothing could just be great on its own. Unbelievable. So that's Dark Souls 2. One of the most polarizing games of all time, and certainly the worst in the series. It's a game that does so much wrong, but not a lost cause thanks to its expansions. Now listen, despite me rambling like this through— oh my goodness! If you still like Dark Souls 2 and you have fun with it, that's fine. There is fun to be had, like I said. I just said myself I like having fun with it at certain points. But for me and many other people, it's a game that fails at what it tries to do and is a massively disappointing sequel. I was actually struggling with the score for this game because I don't think it's bad enough to be a 6, but I also don't think it's good enough to be a 7 in my eyes. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go down the middle. Dark Souls 2 gets a 6.5 out of 10.